one step forward, two steps back, and now they're back and trying to win 3 in a row again, just like we were coming into last week.
I thought it was a really interesting weekend for the San Francisco Giants. You know, you have on one end people losing their minds every day as that lineup gets put out there. Every day, well, where's Eldridge? Every day, why is Chapman in there? Yeah. Every day, what's going on? Who's batting third? Who's batting fourth? Who's batting fifth? You know, who's pitching? Who's in left field now that Elliot Ramos is injured? And it was a much-needed series win for the San Francisco Giants. And, look, they're going to have to peel off about 6 or 7 of these series wins for Giants fans to kind of buy in on them. Now, we are here. I mean, this is Memorial Day week. Everybody that's saying it's too early to make sweeping proclamations on who they are, well, it's getting early kind of late here, or I guess getting late kind of early here.
Kind of like the opposite.
Depending on how you want to put it.
Yeah.
And the reality is that this team is actually being carried by the others. And what I mean by that is that, you know, you've got this kid McDonald who's been outstanding. And another great start. This guy needs to be in the rotation.
Yep.
You know, that's one of my big takeaways from the weekend is that Trevor McDonald absolutely needs to be in the rotation. The second one, what are you going to do in left field? Elliot Ramos goes down. From what Tony Vitello says, it's going to be a multiple-week injury. They don't have outfielders to begin with. I mean, we have catchers playing right and left field. Yeah. What are you going to do in the outfield? They need an outfielder so bad. So I don't know what the answer is. Are they going to elevate someone? Bo Davidson's a name that I've heard being, you know, bandied about. I don't know what the answer is. Dakota Johnson, or Jordan, excuse me, maybe getting elevated from double to triple A. I don't know. But they need to do something there. And then finally the bats break out for a bunch of guys. You know, Harrison Bader's been excellent since returning from his IL stint. The legs look healthier. He's got 3 home runs, 5 hits. He's slugging .750 since his return. Obviously, Arise goes deep not once but twice in Sacramento. And then another weekend and a couple of moments from Chapman. But overall, I mean, the strikeouts are they're alarming. And so there's a lot of good stories on this team right now. Overall, I feel good about where they're at. There's also some big, high-press dudes to really worry about. Let's talk about the big 3 real quick here, Joey.
Let's do it.
Matt Chapman, 7 of 57, only 3 walks and 20 Ks.
Wow, that many hits, huh?
In his last 15 games. 7 of 57. He's batting a robust 123 the last 2 weeks and a 211 slug. And this is a guy who had a big RBI hit this weekend. It's a guy who finally, after going 0 for in the whole game, finally ripped one down the line. I feel a little better, even though the data tells you you shouldn't. The at-bats have been better.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Matt Chapman going forward with this team. And you brought it up last week, and I want to hear the audience participation this morning, 888-957-9570. That is the number to get involved. The Giants take 2 out of 3 in not really a battle of the Bay anymore. I don't know what we're calling it. It's A's-Giants. It did feel a little strange, going to be honest, it being in Sacramento, that ballpark. And if you went to the game, I would love to hear, because they were packed all 3 nights. It was Giants fans, it was A's fans. So that aspect was great to see. But when we talk about home field disadvantages, I also want to get into that at some point today, because the A's disadvantage at that ballpark is frightening when you look at some of the splits. But you mentioned Matt Chapman, Joe. And, you know, we've been talking about, you know, whether or not this team's going to make a big trade, if they're going to move off some of these guys. You know, we've had the Jim Bowdens on, former GMs. We've had, you know, all the different, the Ken Rosenthal sound, Chris Rose joining us. Of those 3, Chapman, Devers, and Adames, Chapman is the guy that defensively is just a step above all of them. It's not even close. So he can hang his hat on one side of the ball. He is infinitely better than those guys. Now, when it comes to just the offense, that's what we care about right now. Chicks dig the long ball. You just said it, Joe. He's had 7 hits. In what, 55, 57 at-bats? Something like 7 for what?
7 for 57.
I mean...
But here's the alarming thing isn't the hits. Joe, it's the 20 strikeouts and only 3 walks. 20 strikeouts.
His on-base percentage is .299. Sub 300 on-base percentage. Now, that's not unique to him on this Giants team. You look at Willie Adames, 265 on base. Devers, 294. Casey Schmitt is 344 a rise. We obviously know about him.
We'll get to him.
370.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Matt Chapman it's now or never for this guy. if he wants to start breaking down the season, because we've looked at the totality of his career going back to Oakland, Toronto, and obviously now San Francisco. He's a streaky hitter. But sooner or later, those streaks aren't going to matter if you're going to dig yourself a 2, 3, 4 month hole. And we're almost 2 months into the year, Joe. 2 months.
I know.
2 months.
And you bring up Casey Schmitt. I mean, during that same time period, he's cooled off, by the way. I want to make it sure. Casey Schmitt's cooled off.
Really? You sure?
It's a joke. He's 17 of 57. Now, he has 14 strikeouts, but he has 4 home runs and 7 RBIs, batting almost 300 with a 544 slug, and he's cooled off.
I know.
And so I've gotten to the point now where I'm looking at the game logs every day, and I'm like, all right, Casey this year has played designated hitter. He's played first base. He's played third base. He's played second base. And then on Friday night, he played a little left field. That was Friday night, I believe, that Ramos got injured, correct?
Correct. And they're calling it a quad strain, and Vitello was talking over the week, and they think it's going to be a handful of weeks, I think was the quote. So
yeah, which is not
good.
Not good. So, like right now, you guys can all tell me it's just a small period of time, and KC might end up, devolving a little and not staying on this tear. And look, I'll listen to that. He's 27 years old, and this is the best stretch of baseball at the bigs that he's had by far, for the longest period of time by far. And I understand being a little skeptical, like, hey, do a full season, and I want to see more. But anybody that's watched the first 2 months of the San Francisco Giants, how can you not have Casey Schmitt as the most important player in your everyday lineup?
He is. I don't even think it's close right now. Is he the most feared bat on the team from the opposing offenses or the opposing team's perspective when they're game planning? No, but he should be. I know you got Rafi Devers out there. He continues to get the be hitting the ball. He's doing his thing. But looking at what Casey Schmitt's been able to do, and this is going to sound insane when I say it, Joe. Is it the worst thing in the world that we were looking for a spot for Bryce Eldridge, and we have an opening in left field now that Ramos is out? Elliot Ramos is going to be out a handful of weeks. I saw Casey Schmitt play some left. Do I want him to be there full time? No. But does this now make it a little bit easier potentially going forward if Ramos is going to be out? I can slide Casey Schmitt over there to left. I could put Eldridge at DH now. Does that give them an opening going forward to get more consistency for this kid at the plate? Because I only saw him once this series, and that was on Friday, and he didn't really do anything. So, I'm trying to find the answer, because I know Bryce Eldridge is still a story on top of Casey, who's been unbelievable. Yeah. And I'm with you. He has to play every single day, and maybe this opening in left allows him to do that. I'm not sure, but it's going to be another Rubik's Cube puzzle for Tony Vitello, Buster Posey, and this Giant staff to figure out what to do. I mean, like you said, they had the catcher out there in left, Eric Haas.
They played Jesus Rodriguez in right and as a catcher, and they played, Haas in left field. Look, you were facing a lefty yesterday, so I get maybe you want to not play Bryce Eldridge. But the individual development plan, the IDP, if you will, is very perplexing.
Can I ask you something real quick? What you just said? He's facing a lefty. They're facing a lefty, so you can't play.
No, I didn't say you can't.
No. Sorry, I don't want to.
I didn't say you can't.
You didn't say that.
I think he's only got 2 or 3 at-bats versus lefties this year. I think he's got 20-some-odd at-bats, and only a couple have been against lefties. For whatever reason, they're hiding them against lefties.
How are you ever supposed to improve against left-handing pitcher? If this is supposed to be the face of the franchise, future face of the franchise, how is he ever going to succeed against left-handed pitching if you refuse to put him out there against guys like, Severino, against guys like whoever's left-handed, Jeffrey Springs, put guys out there.
Well, as we learned with Casey Schmitt, as we've learned with Elliot Ramos, either you're going to play or you're going to rot. It's really difficult to rot and thrive. And what I mean by rot is rot on the bench.
Correct. You're not getting any touches.
And so, the fact that they went with Haas in left field yesterday was look at this lineup. You got Chapman in third, Gilbert's playing right field, and you got Eric Haas in left with Casey as your DH.
And then they slide in Gilbert to left when who Haas gets pitch hit for Jung-Hoo Lee, who comes over to right field.
It's just I do not understand. I don't understand what's going on with them. And then they had an opportunity to maybe demote, Bryce Eldridge and keep Christian Koss up, and they demote Christian Koss. Again, it just something doesn't add up. I think there's got to be a trade of something like around the horizon. Oh, I get back to the Chapman and Schmitt thing. Schmitt needs to be in the field every day.
Yeah.
We got to stop this DH thing. The DH spot, to me, cannot be occupied by a guy who's 27 years old with fresh legs, whose best attribute not only is his bat this year, but is his arm.
Yeah, it's his glove and
it's
arm.
his glove and his arm. And so you want to get that guy's defense into the lineup. So I think they've got an issue here. You got Rafi Devers right now. We're going last 15 games. I went through a lot of stats last night. Rafi Devers, 18 of 55. 18 Ks, which is a lot, but he's got the 8 RBIs, 327 batting average, slugging 600. That's the best 2 weeks of the year for him.
Yep.
So that's really encouraging. Willie Adames, 7 games. So that's this week. 11 of 30, only 7 Ks, 5 RBIs. Highest batting average for a week all year, 367 with a 433 slug. So 2 really good weeks for Devers, 1 very good week for Willie Adames. Chapman's in an abyss. Schmitt back to where he's been the last 2 weeks, which is awesome. Bader with a really nice week. There's a lot to be encouraged, Joe, but they've built such a huge hole, it's hard to get overly optimistic.
It is, and right now they still are looking at the second worst record in the National League. The Rockies right behind them at 18-29. And it was just weird watching baseball this weekend, and it was rivalry weekend, and that's what they're promoting it. They've been doing it. But some of them I had to laugh at. Like, in no way ever have the Padres and Mariners ever been rivals for anything. They have been inept franchises most of my life, and we're trying to have makeshift. They called it, what, the Eddie Vedder Cup or something? That's some sort of artist that I should know. Is
Eddie Vedder? Yeah, he's a guitar.
Pearl Jam, right?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with San Diego? Isn't he isn't that Seattle?
I don't know. That would be Paulie Mack, you should ask.
Yeah, I love it. I love me some Paul.
I'm sure it's right.
No, it's true.
I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying.
Mark Willard over on our afternoon show loves the Pearl Jam. Yeah. So, well, he's a man of his certain age.
That is so on the nose.
Well, he's 50.
Mark, you're never going to win. Like, the stereotypes are just so on the nose.
What's the stereotype? White dad,
he's a white guy.
Suburban white father,
white dad. Probably owns a Dustbuster. Danny Tanner, like.
What's wrong with Dustbusters? No, he's a Dyson kind of a guy.